welcome to another edition of the Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison. I am recording on Sunday, September 18th, 2022 from my home in Los Angeles, California. And it has been a while. I think my last one was June. Yeah, I think it was early June. So the whole summer has passed and I've had a busy summer. And honestly, I just haven't felt like sitting and doing a little podcast, but I do today, and I have things to share. I'm going to share a lot of the FOs that I've finished in the last few months and talk about what's been going on over the summer, why I was so busy, some of my travels, all the normal stuff. But I do want to say I do feel less and less the urge to podcast. So I don't think I'm podcast fading exactly yet, but I definitely foresee these kind of like I've been doing this year. I think I've only done 4 when I feel like it. And so it could be weeks between them. It could be months. It is just how I'm feeling, and I'm not going to feel pressure. As I've said before, I really just do these more as a catch up with my friends that I've met at various places or haven't met who regard me as a friend, to kind of say what's going on. I'm still here. And that I don't get to see as often, but I definitely, not the kind of podcaster that's putting a service into the knitting community. I'm not really reviewing things anymore or any of that kind of stuff. I've definitely fallen away. I was trying to think. I think I started my audio podcast. I'm going on 10 years between my audio podcasts, which I had before I switched over to YouTube and video. So it has definitely been a while. And I still enjoy it because I watch a lot of podcasts and I listen to podcasts. So I do like kind of putting something out there. I know people do like checking in with, the familiar faces and their friends and kind of catching up and seeing what's happening, especially because I am like the most horrible keeper and catcher of things. I've always been bad at it. I'm not a good texter. I definitely don't phone call. I mean, even to my mom, she texts me every so often. I'm just thinking about you. It's been a while. And I'm just like, oh, I'm the worst daughter ever. But yeah, I've never been really good at that. And I envy those who are those kind of either introverts or into that and do keep in touch with people. I love when people reach out and I love actually responding and being part of it. But I am definitely not the one who is doing the heavy lifting on that kind of correspondence or interaction. So this is kind of my way of doing an introverted way to kind of put out there, specifically for the knitting community. My other friends who aren't knitters, it's harder, honestly. I try to force myself every few months to do phone calls and catch up and things like that. And we do plan trips. I'll talk about one I did with my college girlfriends, things like that. And that's how we stay in touch. But I also have those great friendships, being 45 of people you've known, 20, 30 years more. And so you don't have to necessarily have that check-in all the time to maintain a friendship. You just are. So with that said, I have a fair amount of knitting. As I said, we'll start off with my FOs. I have a lot of little FOs in the last few months. I sort of being on a kick. So I'm going to try to go in order of my notes because some of these have been finished for a while. And so when I finish something, I kind of have this box next to my knitting area. It's just kind of a little felt thing. And I throw them in there with the intent is, these are things I need to talk about before I put them away. And it's getting kind of full. So let's start off with, I finished the Descent Toque. This is by Andrea Rangel, and it is inspired by Ruth Bader Ginsburg's lace that she used to wear on her collar. There is a hat, a sweater, and something else. And this met 2 goals. This was one of my make 9s. And then this was some of the yarn that, oh, look, I have an end. All right, well, we'll ignore that. Apparently, I have a big end in the middle that I haven't cut. Do you find that? I'm usually pretty good, so I wonder why I must not just have cut it. Anyways, this is the Andrea Toque. So the yarn is some really old stuff I had in my stash. This is Barocco Comfort Sock that I actually was just looking at because I still have some left, and I've had this in my stash since 2009. This Barocco Comfort Sock counts as probably my oldest stash, and I still have some left. I originally bought it for like some baby booties way back when. And, you know, it's just a solid fingering, you know, Barocco comfort sock yarn. And then the other yarn is Sweet Georgia Cash Lux and English Ivy that I had made a sweater out of a long time ago, and I still had almost a full ball. So my normal goals for the year are to try to go into my oldest yarns in my stash and figure out projects for them as part of my Make 9. So this was one of them. And it's really kind of, oh, I don't have my ponytail is not allowing me to wear hats, but anyways, it is definitely on the slouchy side. Kind of looks good. And I made it a little taller because I was trying to use all the yarn. But I do love, this was really easy. Really easy. Ugh. So, I don't know. This was about 160 yards of using it. And I like the 2-color. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to keep this. I might go into my gift box. Or I just might go into a charity. We'll see. But yeah, so anyways, this is the Descent toque. I knit it, gosh, this was from a May-June finish, so a long time ago. Next. Socks. Let's go with socks. As I said, I'm trying to go in the order I finish things, at least according to my notes. So these are the shorty play socks, and I cast these on with a leftover ball of Desert Vista Dye Works that I picked up at the Knockers retreat in April off the D-stash table. And it was like I don't know, 55, 60 grams, which is plenty for me to do shorties in for the most part. And then I actually did the toes and the cuff in a different color to make sure I had enough. And I divided into 2 equal balls and the whole 9 yards. Anyways, this is what they look like. And as I said, the color is the Desert Vista Dye. I think it was like the Shorty Playbook was the actual, or Silver Linings Playbook. Something like that was the actual colorway, which I like the colorway. I like Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. She's a great dyer, does exclusively, well, not exclusively, I don't follow her enough to say that, but 95% of what she does is self-striping. And she does amazing, and a lot of people do her yearly sock club where they knit one a month. And I've had the opportunity to actually meet her a few times and have a few pairs of socks from hers. I don't think I have any more stash. Anyways, that is why I picked it up off the table, because I knew I liked it and I liked the colors. And then the toe and cuff is some mini I had that looked close enough. Close enough. So yeah, so these took me a few weeks. They were shorties and I was knitting on them. I do mine toe up. I did, which heel did I do with this? Oh, I think I did the Mathematicians kind of heel. And yeah, they're cute. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them or if I'll give them to my mom. We'll see. I do like shorties. We're actually getting into, well, not yet, but we're slowly going into the fall where I can wear my knit socks. It has been beastly hot most of August in LA. We've been super heat wave. And so I don't tend to wear my knit socks in the summertime. I wear cotton socks with my Seekers, like to work and stuff, just because it's hot. So my feet sweat. And although my feet could sweat into these, they definitely keep my feet warmer, and that's not what I want. Next. This was another stash buster of using some of those old yarns, and this is just a Sockhead Slouchy, and I had both of these yarns in stash. So this is on the round, everyday fingering, and after the storm, and I did a pair of socks in these, and these are mostly 100% wool. I don't even know if it's a superwash, which means in my socks I've had to repair a few holes because I snag it and it breaks, and yeah, etc. But I had a decent amount left, and so I paired it with some Forbidden Fiber Justice in Gray that I had, and I used about half a ball for the gray, and then same thing I think with this one, the rest. And this was a yarn I picked up Maryland Sheep and Wool in 2016, so I wanted to use it. And I really should, here, I want to do this so that these hats don't look horrible when I'm trying them on. So I did more of this kind of ribbing before I went into there. The idea that, look how tall that is. The idea is I would be able to fold this over. If I wanted, I could make it beanie. Okay, that's horrible. Could make it beanie, or it could be super slouch. You know, you just kind of fold it, whatever. It's a stash busting hat, you know. I just wanted it to look mostly good, and I had it when I was needing, you know, lots of mindless knitting, and I used it up, and that's really what I liked. Again, I don't know if I'll keep this hat or give it away. We'll see. Yeah, I have about a dozen hats in my rotation, my hats that I keep, and I can't add to them. Like, I've told myself that I need to cycle out if I'm going to be doing more hats. So that's why most of my hats go to charity. I gave a huge box last year for Christmas to my family, and they used them all. And then I brought a bunch of hats also to the Knockers Retreat for the brothers there to give away for charity. So that was a Stormy Sockhead slouch. The Sockhead is by Kelly McClure. Tons and tons of people have knit this. It's usually, it was like the first that I remember really popular, like one skein fingering weight hat, and it was just round and round and round. And so all those great indie dyed yarns and great colors you could just turn into one hat. And I actually, in my rotation, have 2 of them, I think, right now. So the next hat I finished was, and I'm not going to say this right, the Esnach hat by Liz Cork. And I knit this out of a skein of Cannon hand dyes and Party in a Skein. I think I got this backing a Kickstarter or something. It might have been a prize thing. This was another one that I've had in my stash, I think, since 2016. And this was a paid pattern I bought, and it's got this really cool, it's going to be hard to say. Oh, look, you can see it's kind of this like slip stitch on half of the hat, even following into the brim. And then you have that. So, yeah, this one I'm more inclined to keep, I think. I don't have one like this color. I like more the beanie fit, and yeah, the Esnach hat, really fun knit, really easy. I actually, for this, I held the yarn. It was a fingering weight, but I held it double. So I basically divided the ball in half and then knit it fingering double. So looks really nice. Really happy with it. And this was a hat that I finished June into July. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And this was another one, part of my Make 9, because I was trying to get that yarn out of my rotation. The next thing I finished was the Storm Shawl by Joji Locatelli. This was also a Make 9 because I'd had this skein of yarn in my stash for, must have been a 2015 or 2016 yarn. I picked it up in DC. The shop in DC. I can't remember which one it was. Anyways, it's Yarn, Carnival, High Wire, and Pyroclastic. Oh, Looped. I got it from Looped DC in 2015. And so I was looking for a 1 skein shawl. And so I did Joji's Storm Shawl. This is a paid pattern. And the only mods is I wanted to use all of the yarn. So I actually did another repeat of the kind of the, it has like a dropped, you can see it's the drop stitches. I also, on my drop stitches, I didn't like the number of wraps. She actually had it wider. And so I think she had 4 wraps and I did 2 and then dropped them. And then the eyelets and short rows. So yeah, and then it blocked really nice. So this is a great little shawl. And I love the neutrality of the gray with just the pops of red. The yarn, as I said, was Yarn Carnival, and I don't think that they knit any, or they dye anymore. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to keep this one. I think I'll replace it with one of my other shawls. I think I do like the gray. You know, wear a lot of black, you wear this, it just can go with a lot of things. It's a great it's a great size. It's that shallow kind of wedge that I like. So yeah, this was great. So it's interesting. I see that like one skein kind of shawls are making a bit of a comeback. You know, I remember, shoot, maybe what, 10 years ago, one skein shawls were all the rage, all these little shawlettes and things, and then it got bigger and bigger. I think Stephen West kind of contributes, so all of a sudden you're doing like 3 skeins and 4 skeins and these schlankets. And I like knitting those, but it's a lot harder for me to wear them. This kind of one skein or maybe a little bigger are what I can wear. And this is pretty light and airy. Obviously, it's even got, you know, it's knitted a looser gauge and is much more appropriate for me to wear here in Los Angeles, where cold really isn't a thing ever. So yeah, so I knit this about a month, the month of June. This was one of my June projects. Next is the Tremblant Toque. And this was intentionally, this is by Diana Walla. And I not intentionally, listen to me saying that. That doesn't make any sense. This is it. And I made modifications to the coloring and stuff. And this is some Jameson 2-ply that I actually got at the Virginia Beach Yarn Retreat a few years ago, and I wanted to use it. Been sitting kind of lonely in my stash, and I decided, I think originally we got them to do gloves, and I didn't want to do that, so I did a hat. So this is 3 colors of Jameson, the kind of the peachy, the red in here, and then I changed it at the top because I ran out of this kind of color to change it to the blue. It's just a cute little beanie hat, and because it's Jameson, this will be warm. So I think this would be a great kind of charity hat. I think it's semi-neutral, so I think even, you know, a guy wouldn't mind wearing it. Yeah, so do I have anything else about that? Yeah, this only used about 40 grams total for the hat, so the balls I were using were 25-gram balls. And so I had enough to do more when I had left, because I said I had 4 colors. So I then picked up or created, I'd seen a hat by, I'm trying to blank. I'd seen another hat and kind of inspired this, and I can't remember what it is. It will be in my show notes what the inspiration was. But this is also done in Jameson, with the exception of this orange, which was some Romy 2-ply that I had left. It's a little heavier than the other gauge, but you can see I still have like a little bit of the blue in there, a little bit of the red, and I kind of, the hat that was my inspiration, I just found what the lace with pattern was, and I sort of just made it up as I went. I did block it, though I blocked it the wrong way. So again, another really warm over your ears. This has a little, because it's lace, it has some holes and stuff in it, but this is all Jameson and woolly wool, so this will be another warm hat. And with this, I got to use all those Jamesons and get them out of my stash. And look at this. This reminds me of a very 70s kind of blanket. I would love a colored blanket like this. So we'll see. I think this is going to definitely be a charity hat. It was fun knitting, and I did end up blocking it because it definitely needed blocking. Let's just go with that, to really kind of open up and be wide enough. And yeah, so just kind of, I'm calling it a Vimmer adjacent. So Vimmer might have been the pattern that inspired this of Jameson's. Another one that was a stash buster and another make 9. This was Mad Tosh and Pelican, and this is the Thermal. The Thermal Cap by Kate Solomon. Super easy slip stitch, garter stitch. Ooh, that was my sock link. Hat fits really nice, feels really nice. Oh, I like this one too. Of all of these hats, I'm only gonna keep one, but this might be one I keep just because it's a great hat. I mean, it goes with everything, and it's squishy, and it will squish down, pops on really, you know, easy. And yeah, so I knit this into June into August, and as I said, it's 50 grams of Mad Tosh stock. Um, Another pair of socks I did. This is again, inspired. You know, when you've been knitting for as long as I have, which 20 years now or so, I do sometimes pay for a pattern, even though I know I could do it myself, just because it's the idea. I feel like paying the artist. And then sometimes I just take that and kind of run with it myself. This was another one I kind of ran with it myself, mainly because the sock pattern that it was based off of was top down, and I wanted to do mine heel up. But it's inspired by the Heel Do-Si-Do socks by the Crazy Sock Lady. And then I use, the yarn is White Birch Fiber Arts, and Black is the New Orange. I got this at Stitches West in 2018. And then the heel and the toe are gray that I had that, like, look, it's probably that pelican actually. Totally goes. And then the top of this is actually still that yarn. And you can kind of see, I'm gonna grab the other one. So it's basically this chevron pattern on the top, and then just plain stripes on the bottom, and then same thing on the top. I didn't carry it, it's just carried on the top all the way up. And I, again, adapted this. I think I made it a little wider, took a simpler pattern, kind of swatched it, meaning I did the toe and then did the first ones to figure out. But I had to do some math because this particular pattern, you know, isn't as stretchy, and so you kind of had to make it a little wider. I think these ended up being like a 72 stitch, and they'll like fit me perfectly. And I am keeping these. These are so me, my colors. And when I picked up this White Birch, this was specifically for me. So yeah, these took, I don't know, about a month knitting on them, and it was 60 grams of the White Birch, and then probably, what, 10 grams for this. So I still have a little bit of it left. Yeah, 20 grams of the Forbidden Fiber. This was actually the Forbidden Fiber Justice that I showed in another hat on the sock head. And then one more pair of socks that I finished are something I started in August with some Opal Memories that I picked up at Stitches West this year. So this is a sock for my brother, which means the sock blank probably, or the sock, this won't fit exactly. It should be a little, yeah, will be a little loose. My brother is a size, you know, 12, 13 foot, but he likes shorty socks. And so this is just, I wanted to do something that was mindless, literally, you know, round and round and round. And then I actually did a fishless kiss heel, which I don't always do. And then 2x2 or 1x1 twisted rib for this. So I have that, and I have quite a bit of this left, but yeah, so I saw him, well, a few times over the summer, but I know he does wear the socks and he prefers shorties, even in the winter. He's one of those guys that, you know, after the winter and it like warms up to like 40, he's in shorts. So yeah, so that's kind of how I've finished in the last 3 months. So that's 2 pairs of shorty socks, 1 full pair of socks, 1 fingering weight shawl, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hats. So I've been on a relatively small, oh, sorry, I'm gonna pick up this, relatively small project or fingering weight project. So they, even though these are all hats, a lot of them are fingering weight, which still takes a while. It takes me a while anyways. And now I'm kind of in this period of monogamy. I got 3 projects I'm knitting on, 2 which I didn't bring up. So I am still knitting on my fingering weight blanket, that crocheted blanket, and I am up to 43 inches and my goal is 72. So I am over the halfway point. I don't think I'm going to finish it out this year, but I should be finishing it probably by March of next year. And And it goes in waves depending on what's happening. So in June I did 4 inches, in July I did 5 inches, in August I did 8 inches. And this month I'm probably on par to do like 6 inches, maybe a little more. I tip for that project and it's just so big. It's so comfy because I'm doing it. It's going to be 72 inches wide and 72 inches long. And as I said, I'm at 42 inches. It pretty much sits next to the couch. It's attached to fingering weight. And this is the crochet project I'm doing with fingering held double of like all of my random minis. So it's working out really well and I'm super happy with it. I'm going to love it. I don't know if it's going to be a couch blanket or I might actually put it on my bed. But it was too big to bring up stairs where I'm recording. And then the other one I forgot is my hat that I have. I currently have a hat on the needles. It's just a scrappy hat. 2 fingerings held together kind of for a marled. Actually, it's not 2 fingerings. It's a fingering and a lace that I had extra. Again, trying to use some of these old small balls that I have in my stash. They bother me after a while. So it's just a scrappy marled hat that's in my purse right now. And it's a round and round held together. And I haven't knit on it that much. I think I did. Well, I mean, it's a hat. I've done like a third of it. But the big project that I've been pretty monogamous on since August, so almost a month, is the Maima by Megan Nodecker. And I don't think I have a picture of it. Maybe I'll pull a picture up on my Ravelry so you can kind of see. And this is a fingering weight cardigan. So it is taking a long time. A long time. But I'm loving it. It is relatively mindless and I am being monogamous, not with all these other little projects because it is fingering weight and that just takes me a long time and I don't want it to be forever on the needles. So I'm taking making a point of being monogamous. And luckily, once I show it to you, I'm going to show you the picture and then I'll show you what I'm doing. That's a good picture of it. Well, this is the back, but so it's the Maima shawl or cardigan. Shawl, I keep saying shawl. It's a cardigan. And it is kind of a honeycomb brioche, one color. Here, this one's better. Oh, look, you can see my light. Cardigan. So, I picked up the yarn for this at Zombie and Apocalypse last year. And I'm using 2021. And this is I'll take out a skein. This is Suburban Stitcher and her fingering and her stock, and this is the Oslo colorway. And I was specifically looking for a colorway that would be neutral-ish without being boring, without being a solid color, because it's a lot of fingering weight. And oh look, I'm in the middle of a row because that must be where I stopped yesterday, which is not good. But anyways, it's a top down, and go from there. And oh, you can see the line a little bit. Can you see it? Oh yeah. I did all of the top in just a single skein of hers. I did buy all these at once. I did notice when I started the next one that there were some that had more dark splotches. I don't think it's gonna bother me. In fact, I know it will bother me. It was just easier than switching, but I did do the right thing. And on the main part of the body afterwards, I am alternating because there is one, it's a little slightly different, a little darker, one's a little lighter. Actually, I'm almost down to 50 grams on this one. So I have 4 skeins of this, which should be enough, hopefully, depending on my length of my sleeves. So I am going to stop on this little one and then start doing with this one so that when I get to the sleeves, I can also alternate and I don't have to like only have one skein. So I think I'm doing the extra large on this. I really haven't made any modifications. I do have to say that I had to start, it took me a little while to kind of not relearn brioche, but to read the pattern correctly. So like initially when I was doing it, I was doing like a brioche rib, this is not what this is. This is like a broken honeycomb. So, you do, I don't even I'm not even going to explain it right, but on one of them you do the brioche stitch, and on the next you like knit everything. And so it's not brioche on everything, and it creates this great kind of, oh, there we go, honeycomb. And I love how it's turning out. I love the look of it. I don't mind the knitting of it. It's just slow because it's fingering weight and it's brioche. So it's very easily memorizable. So I definitely have memorized the rows and can judge my knitting and know, you know, because you have to alternate where you're stopping. That's how you get kind of like this broken rib pattern in terms of where your brioche stitches are going. So that's all good, but it did take a little time. I think, as I said, I started the first beginning part 3 times before I figured it out. So, but you know, that's what I had to do because I read the pattern, but I wasn't really understanding it. And then I didn't really understand it until I knit it correctly. And then I understand what was happening. The only thing that, because I have, I don't know, about 200 grams left, maybe a little more. So I'm almost halfway done, which makes sense. I'm about, I think the body calls for 13 inches before I start doing something, and I'm about 6 inches. I'm not sure if I'm going to be playing Yarn Chicken yet, but I did say if I did see something Yarn Chicken, because we're going to do the sleeves, and they're kind of a blousey sleeve. So it's more fabric than I think some people may like. And then you pick up and do kind of an edging to bring all of this in. And I had seen another person's project where they did a mini and solid mini. So I was thinking that it might be really cool if I picked up like a brown, if I have one in my stash. I used to, I don't know if I still do. But anyways, a solid color mini to go along the edge to kind of just bring it all. And that way I could make my sleeves a little longer. So I'm pretty much exclusively knitting on this. I do my crocheted blanket no more than 2 days a week. It's usually Scrappy Sunday. So today, though I'm not going to have much time to work on it. And then I pick another day and when I do it and get some done. And then the rest of the time I'm knitting on this. So I'm hoping, what am I in? Towards the end of September. I'm hoping to be done with it by like mid-October. Another 3 or 4 weeks at most. That's my goal anyways. I have it in my fat squirrel bag. So that's what I'm knitting on. I got this monogamy going on. It's very weird, but good. I think I need to do that when I do garments, because I do get frustrated when it takes me too long to do garments, and it takes me too long when I do a bunch of these other little projects, because I mean, my knitting time during the week can be limited. Definitely, it just depends on how much I worked and how tired I am and whether I'm in the brain space to do it. So sometimes I'll knit an hour after work or more, and then sometimes I just don't feel like it and I'm just playing games on my phone. That's what I do instead. So that's kind of what I have to show you for knitting. Let's talk now, kind of move into my gossip and what's been happening in all my travels since I last saw you. So in June, I went to Zombie Apocalypse, and before that, I went and saw my girlfriend in Cleveland and my godson. So I spent a few days with them in Cleveland, and then I went to Zombie Apocalypse and saw all my knitting friends there, and it was awesome. And I did pick up yarns there, and I've already put them away, so you don't get to see the enhancement. But I didn't go super crazy. Yeah, I didn't go super crazy. I kept it pretty limited. I think 10 skeins maybe. Some single skeins of just supporting new people. It's cool stock yarn. I still like to buy single skeins of stock yarn. I do like to make socks. I have putting them into other projects. I would say, not even say, I know most of my stash is fingering with the occasional sweater quantity of something, but I don't wear sweater quantities, or I don't like wear my sweaters that are heavier than, you know, sport very often, because I just don't. So I find the fingering weight work for me, though I really should buy, you know. Anyways, so I picked up some skeins, but not super crazy, and I have a lot of garments in my queue actually, so I have a lot of quantities right now. Then I came back, and a few weeks later, my brother and my niece came out to visit me, and they stayed a week, a little over a week. So they stayed, and so I took time off work and hung out with them. And then we did stuff around town. We went hiking, went to museum, much to my 12-year-old niece's dismay, but she did okay. So we kind of alternated with doing some stuff around. We went to the swap meet and things like that, and just like hanging out, because that's what my niece likes to do. She calls it her slug time. And so we watched a lot of horror movies on the couch, because that is one of her favorite things to do with her auntie. So we do. And then we went down to Comic-Con in San Diego. And so we were down there for like 5 days. And we went to Comic-Con on the Thursday and the Sunday, and it was super crazy. We only pretty much saw the floor. And the first day, it had been a long time since I'd gone to Comic-Con. It had probably been 6 or 7 years. And one of the reasons, and San Diego Comic-Con is this big it used to just be primarily comics, but now it's more popular culture, television, movies, things like that. Down in San Diego, it's been going on for years and years and years, and it has gotten bigger and bigger till it's maxed out its capacity in the comic book San Diego Convention Center. And I used to go probably 15 to 20 years ago is when 20 years ago, I think I started going. And I went pretty religiously for a decade. And then it just got crazier and crazier and crazier, meaning it got bigger and bigger, and it became more and more difficult to actually do anything. So I stopped going. And now I go to the smaller one, WonderCon, which I really enjoy. But it's a lottery to get tickets. It's a big deal. It's hard to get tickets. And so I got these tickets pre-COVID. And but just got them for the Thursday and the Sunday. And when I got 3 tickets. It was supposed to be for me, my boyfriend, and his son, who at the time was under 18. And when it came around this one, we did the same kind of thing, except he couldn't stay the whole time. So he went to the first day, and my brother was able to take his badge and go for the Sunday. And then my niece was 12, and kids 12 and under get to go with an accompanying adult. So we did that. We walked around. We saw lots of stuff, but it was just overwhelming. It was a lot of people. So I had fun, but I also don't miss going. And so we'll see. I'll maybe put in for the lottery next year. I think one day is plenty. And there was like some great panels. If I were willing to wait in line to get into them, which I'm just not. It is so much fun to be in there and see these panels like the Marvel and stuff when they're talking about all this new stuff, and they're just the feeling of the crowd when you're with all of your people, all of the, the geeky, nerdy people get out with it, is a great feeling. But waiting in line overnight to get badges, or 4 to 6 hours to get in the hot sun, to get in for what in essence is 45 minutes of something, is just not where I'm at. Not where I'm at in my life right now. So ours was mostly shopping. I picked up like a t-shirt. I think we picked up a few comics. Half price comics and some other stuff. But the rest of the time we were in San Diego. So we hung out at his brother's boat one of the days. We went out and saw, where did we go? Like there's a lighthouse at the point there that I'd never gone. And we did like a little hiking. And so it was fun. And my brother and my niece had fun. So they were out, as I said, a full week, and we drove back on a Monday, and then they flew out. And then a few weeks later, 2 weeks later, I think it was 2 weeks later, all of my trips were either a week or 2 weeks. So basically I took a week off or 2 weeks, and then came back and worked a week or two, and then took it off. And I did this pretty much 3 times in a row. So that was fun for work. Yeah. So then I did another trip where it was my annual girlfriend's trip with my college roommates. One of my college roommates is actually my best friend from high school, and we went to college together. And then the other woman was our college roommate, and now we've added a fourth, who was a friend of my friend in med school. So we all, known each other for a long time. And so we do an annual trip, and we pick it out of a hat. And this year we went up to New York. We actually stayed, it was interesting. We rented a house in Yonkers, which was a beautiful house, and it was plenty of space, lots of room, but we went into the city a lot, so it would have made more sense to stay in the city. But it was okay. So we The weekend before, I went and flew out and hung out with my family. So I went and saw, anytime I go to the East Coast, I think I need to use it as an excuse to visit the family in Rhode Island. So I went and hung out with them, saw my mom and my sister and my niece and stuff, and hung out. And then took the train down from Providence to New York, which was a lovely train ride. And then I got in before everybody else who was flying in. One of my girlfriends was in Ohio, one was in New York, and one was in California. So they were all flying to New York to meet us. And I was there well in advance of them. So I, being me and my love of public transportation, I love public transportation in all cities. I don't know. When you think of the sheer amount of people that get moved by these systems and how organized they are, and especially when there's a subway system, I love a subway system. Anyways, I took public transportation all the way up to Yonkers. So I basically got on from where it let me off at Penn Station, walked over to the right subway, got on, and rode that almost to the very end, which I don't think I'd ever ridden it that far north. So pretty much, I think it was like the first stop past the Bronx, and then I got off, and then I took a bus the rest of the way. And my bus happened to drop off right in front of this house, so it was like perfect with my luggage. But so we did that, and then I waited for them to come, and then they all got there. And then the next day we did tea at the Plaza, which was wonderful. So we Ubered the rest of the time with the girlfriends. They didn't do the public transit thing. But yeah, so we went into the city and went around and did some shopping and had tea at the Plaza. And then the next day we went and saw the musical Six on Broadway, and then had an extremely wonderful dinner at Jean Georges, which is a very high-end restaurant in New York. That's part of our tradition, is we always do a really fancy dinner wherever we go. And in these trips we've gone Portland, Seattle, Atlanta, Miami. We pick these places we want to see. We've pretty much hit all the bigger cities. Now we each pick 2 places that go into the hat, and then somebody picks out of the hat, and that's where we go. And so now we've kind of gone through a lot of the bigger cities. Now we're putting in some of the smaller. I think mine were like Asheville and something else this year. And we actually picked for next year's trip, which is going to be Santa Fe. So that will be fun. So that was August. And so I came back, it was like mid-August, so I guess I've been back about a month now. And what have I been doing? Working my butt off. Work is very busy, very crazy. Oh, I had COVID too. I got, not from traveling, but about 2 weeks after the last week of August or so. Yeah, it must have been the last week of August. I came down with COVID. Not anything, this is my second time with COVID. I had it in December 2020. Now August 2022. It was relatively mild. I got a bit of a cough, got a bit of a sinusy thing, and actually because I'm a supervisor, as soon as I realized I was coughing at work, I took myself home to telecommute, and I initially tested negative, and then I tested 2 days later when I was positive. Symptoms got a little bit worse, tested positive, and then that was the worst of it. And then probably by the weekend I was fine, but we're very conservative at my my workplace, and so we are stricter than the CDC guidelines right now. So after 5 days, after a week, if you test again and you test negative, you can come to work. Otherwise, you have to wait a full I think it's 10 calendar days before you can come back. So anyways, all that meant is that I took a little time off that week when I wasn't feeling well, though I mostly telecommuted. Kind of similar to the last time I had it. I still was able to make meetings and things like that. And then the following week I was fine. I just had to telecommute from work or from home, which I don't normally telecommute. I normally am at my construction site. I can do my job telecommuting, but I don't get to see my engineers who are out doing the inspection, and I'm not there for the contractor. It's better for me to work on site, and I feel that I should be on site because my guys can't telecommute either. They can't do their job telecommuting. They're inspectors. They have to be in the field, and the contractor doesn't stop working. And so I feel I should be at the office as well to support them and do all that. So that was kind of everything that's been going on. So I got a lot of travel, probably even more than I would like. I think I was 4 weekends or 5 weekends in a row where I wasn't at home. And I do need my downtime. I do need to sit and chill in my house and knit and be around my things. Like, so that was maybe not as ideal as I would have liked it, but it was nice seeing everybody. So I got my knitting friends, I got my family, I got, you know, some of my oldest girlfriends, and so it was just all packed in like 5 weeks. So that was a little tighter than I'd want. But, you know, coming out of COVID, I was like, I'm not saying no to the travel. I'm just going to do it. We're just going to do it. Now, upcoming travels, I have a bit of a hiatus. I am going to probably, my birthday's coming up. I'm a Halloween baby. So I'm probably going to try to either book a weekend in late October or first weekend in November for a night or two away with the boyfriend, somewhere relatively local, somewhere SoCal. And then I have a trip planned with some friends. I'm going to Florida for almost a week, and then from there I'm flying to see my family because it will be the week before Thanksgiving. So I'm flying up to them, and then we are going to go to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So we are going to go to New York and stay 2 nights, or I'm actually going to go a few days early, I think, with my mom and do kind of a special mom thing. And then the rest of my family, my sister and her kids and my brother, are going to come down for the Thanksgiving, are going to drive into New York because they live in Rhode Island. But it's always been on our bucket list. Like, ever since we were little kids, you know, we watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Road Parade, and we were always like, wouldn't it be cool to go? And this year, my brother's birthday is on Thanksgiving, and so we are going to go down and celebrate it this year. So that will be interesting. We'll see how that goes. That will be an adventure with then my nieces and my nephew. So my nephew's going, he's 21, my niece is 12, and then my other niece who is almost 3. So it'll be interesting. Let's just go with that. And then I'm flying back from New York because I'll have been gone almost 2 weeks at that point. And then coming back to have a little chill time before jumping back into work. Other than that, for plans, I have some tentative ones for maybe next year. My girlfriends want to do a Disney trip with their kids in March and over their spring break for their, with my godson. He will be 5. Must be 5. He's starting kindergarten. And then my other girlfriend, her son is 4 and stuff like that. So that's supposed to materialize soon. So I might be going there for a week, which will be fun. But I love going and doing that kind of stuff with kids. That's what I've always done with my own nieces and nephews and cousins when they were that age. So, and I think I'm going to make Stitches West. Stitches SoCal is coming in November, but it falls on that weekend that I'm actually flying out to Florida. So I'm not sure if I'm definitely not going to do classes or something. I might go down for the market maybe on the Saturday or something. I'm still debating. What else has been happening? I do have a new acquisition I want to show you. So I bought this. I saw it on Instagram. Oh, Instagram does make you buy stuff sometimes. And this is a bag I saw from this Handmade Life, and she had posted a picture, and I had to get it. I mean, how is this the most perfect Halloween bag with like pinky prints, pinky scary prints and pumpkins and ghosts, but like with this pink kind of aesthetic. So luckily I actually had thought about stocking the update, and then she's like, look, this is so popular, would you guys like to do pre-orders? And so I actually pre-ordered it, and I haven't figured out what my project's going to be in it. I just love it right now though. I do have a thing for Halloween bag. I have a lot of Halloween project bags, Halloween themed, but it's my time of year. I also bought a Halloween advent from someone on Etsy, similar to what I did last year. Someone I'd never used their yarns before. So that should be coming. I have a Christmas advent also coming from Fiber Nymph. It's kind of what's been happening. I have been reading a lot. I won't bore you with all the things, but I've been doing a lot of, what I would call fluff reading. Most of my reading is fluff. I do a lot of paranormal kind of romancy series and science fiction series. I don't do heavy books very often. So most of those books I read in like 2 days. I'll read at lunch, and then I'll read an hour or two when I come home, that kind of thing. They're relatively short, pretty easy to get through. But anyways, with all those, I think since I last saw my last podcast in June, I've read 38 books. And I'm up to about 111 for this year. And the authors I'm reading, I'm doing Jen McKinley, and she has multiple kind of mystery series, comfy kind of mystery series with a little bit of romance in it, but not a ton. And I just love following characters over longer series. You fall in love with the characters. Dakota Cassidy is another one that I found. She does a lot of fluffy kind of romancy books. So I'm reading her Witchless in Seattle series and her Accidentally kind of paranormal series, which I love the characters in that. They're very funny to me. Faith Hunter, her Jane Yellow Rock series. I read one of her latest books, and I'm actually reading the short story one right now. I did read Stephen King and Richard Chizmar, the Gwendy Button Box trilogy. And Stephen King from way back, and so I do read his novels when they come out. Maybe not right away, but I do eventually kind of get to them. And this is a short story. Gwendy's Button Box was a short story he wrote with Richard Chizmar. And then Richard Chizmar wrote the second in the kind of the series, which is another story about the same character, Gwendy, later on with this box. And now I'm actually, and I listen to all of these as audiobook. I'm listening to the last one and I'm about halfway through. So that's been a fun little one to read. And yeah. And then podcasts. I've been keeping up with my podcasts. I finally, my iPod died. It didn't die. One of the buttons got stuck, so I couldn't turn it on. And yes, I was still using an iPod Nano, the little clippy one. And that's how I was listening to my podcasts. And I had a lot of my random music and stuff on there and my audiobooks. And it got stuck and couldn't get the power button to depress. And I mean, it's probably 10 years more old. And I was like, should I fix it? Should I go into YouTube? And then I was like, you know what? It's time. It's time. I got a phone which has more memory and everything. You know, it's 200 and something. So I now move my audio podcasts and I'm listening to them on my phone as well as my audiobooks via the Libby app. The only thing with that is I used to do my audiobooks where I would get the CDs, and so I could burn them and then listen to them at my leisure. So if it took me longer than 3 weeks, that wasn't a big deal. But now that I'm on the actual Libby app, I'm trying to listen to those audiobooks within the 3 weeks. So I only have one audiobook at a time, and I'm trying to figure it out. Luckily, most of the audiobooks, have been 3 to 12 hours, which is doable in a 3-week time span for me. I typically listen to it either on my way to or from work, which I have about a half hour each way. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. The other thing, as I said, is podcasts. I've been keeping up on my podcasts. The only one that's relatively new that I started listening to in the last few months is called The Nitty Stew, STEW. She is a flight attendant in Canada who recently started a podcast, and she podcasts from her different places that she travels, and actually arranges her schedule to go to different places to share them with people. And she's really nice, and I liked her style, and I know she's becoming very popular. So she's the only new one I've added, which is a big deal because I don't have enough time to keep on the podcast as it is. It's not always the case. And then I think that's it. That's kind of what's been going on. As I said, work is still extremely busy and probably will be this kind of breakneck pace for till next summer. My project is actually one project but 2 sites. So we're building 2 treatment facilities, and they're both supposed to be completed by next summer. It's at a very aggressive schedule, which means there's long hours. The contractor's working to keep on top of everything, and there's a lot of paperwork and different things that I coordinate. I coordinate a lot of stuff. So, yeah, so that's going to be pretty busy until next summer, and then it'll get a little slower as they kind of go into post-construction, and that will probably be another 6 to 9 months of paperwork, closeout paperwork and things like that, but it slows down. Hopefully then I'm hoping for next summer to do a big kind of international trip. I haven't decided where yet, but I think I'm going to try to book something for next summer when it's a little less crazy. I feel now is the time to go back internationally and do that. I have places. I have the travel bug, but yeah, it's I have all of these set trips that I go. So like my knitting trips that I go to, you know, so going up to you know, Zombie Apocalypse and going to the California Knitting Retreat and things like that. I'm not going to Rhinebeck this year. There wasn't going to be a group going per se, and then there were some people interested here and there, and I just decided the timing of it from where I was going to be taking so much time off and where it wasn't going to be good for me this year. So no Rhinebeck this year, maybe next year. But I am entertaining a thought of going to Vogue Knitting in New York in January. Maybe. If I did that, that'll be the third time I've been in New York this year when I hadn't been in like a long time, maybe a decade. But we'll see. Yeah, I've never been and it's on my list, and this might be the year. I'll have to see if anyone's interested in going. I bet you I can find somebody who would go with me. That's it. As I said, Los Angeles has been brutally hot. We actually are now slowed down or got cooler. We're like in the 70s, so we're going to be back up into the 80s next week. That almost makes me want to put all my summer stuff away and break out into sweaters, but it's still too warm to wear them. I'm wearing, as I said, a t-shirt right now. I hope everyone has had a wonderful summer. I hope everyone has managed to stay healthy and sane and is just enjoying life, which is too short. Get out there, do what you want to do. Don't make excuses. I sometimes make excuses, but I try to get out there. And I hope this finds everyone, as I said, just well. I hope everyone is living their best life. And if you're not, try to. Just, you know, little decisions here and there. What do you want to do? Just go do it. Just go do it. I'm looking at my hair here. I need a haircut. I think I'm going to get my hair chopped again. I had been growing it kind of longer, and I did this kind of interesting shad cut, and now I'm looking at here, and I think it would be perfect if I bring it back up, which is what I do. We'll see. I'll be getting well, I usually get a haircut around my birthday, so I'll get a haircut in a little while. All right, now I'm rambling. This is almost an hour. Thank you for taking the time to sit and catch up with me. And I don't know when I'll be back, but I will be back at some point, and we'll share more of a little bit of my life and share my knits. I definitely will come back with that cardigan because I know I'm going to love the heck out of it. That's a wrap from Hollywood, though, is it? That's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams come true. Bye, everybody.